Our hearts are immersed in untold sorrow here at eNCA and in the journalism fraternity following the untimely passing of the host of The Fix here on eNCA. That's the veteran broadcaster Karima Brown. Our thoughts are with her family, friends and loved ones in this difficult moment. As happens when someone who has touched many lives passes on, you start to reel back on the times and memories you shared with that person, looking for something to hold on to and to keep those memories alive. And you will be hearing a lot of those reflections throughout the day and in the coming days here on eNCA and indeed on other media channels. Karima Brown was fierce, hard-hitting and an unrelenting force of nature when she would be pursuing accountability and answers to those who wield power in our society and democracy. Whatever differences of opinion many had with Karima, she truly was a dyed-in-the-wool South African patriot who only wanted the best for this country and her people. I will personally remember the endless hours we had to spend together at party campaign rallies, manifesto launches, inaugurations, the banter in the shuttle as we would be heading out in the wee hours of the morning for those grueling outside broadcasts. A journalist with a better black book of sources and access to the heart of the story you will not find. Fare thee well, Karima. Rest now, for you have truly blazed a trail and bequeathed a legacy for this democracy. On that note, we get to our top story. We continue to honor our colleague Karima Brown. She succumbed to COVID-19 related complications this morning. Brown, as you know, was the host of the program The Fix here on eNCA since May 2018. For more reaction and tributes, we are joined by Kate Skinner from the South African National Editors Forum, Sanef. Kate, good morning. Thank you for joining us, and our condolences to you as well, because this is a loss for the entire fraternity. Just share with me how you are coming to terms and trying to make sense of the loss of Karima Brown.
So the South African National Editors Forum is, devastated by this loss. There is a sense of this, somebody that was incredibly committed to journalism, was an incredibly strong character, a very, very strong woman. Lots of people within Sanef are talking about, what she did, her legacy. One of the big stories that keeps on coming up is the story about her taking on the leader of the EFF, Julius Malema, in the 2019 elections. When there was a whole lot of abuse against her when she by mistake, put a message into an EFF WhatsApp group. And she took him on and she took him to court and she won. And it was a very important case because it was a case about, stopping harassment of female journalists. She took on these cases and they were difficult cases and certainly she, suffered a huge amount of abuse around it. We were also looking at this particular case with Black First Land First, where again, she received a huge amount of abuse. Sanef took the matter to court and Sanef won that legal case as well. So there's a sense of, somebody who was certainly controversial, put forward very strong views, but the sense is, amongst Sanef members, the sense of this is somebody that was very brave, very courageous, took on the hard issues, and was incredibly committed to journalism.
And how important is it, Kate, as part of her legacy, that spirit of being fearless, even in the heart and in the midst of intimidation, which has become commonplace in our public discourse in South Africa, particularly, directed at the messengers, the journalists?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that also what kind of was brought home to all of us in our discussions was just the sense of how incredibly brutal the kind of journalism environment actually can be. Particularly for frontline journalists, political journalists, and female journalists. Black female, journalists really have an incredibly tough time. And so I think all of that came home to us. And of course, just the devastation of COVID-19 taking so many journalists and untimely death. People far, far too young to have died now. So I think also, the human tragedy of the COVID virus and the sense of just how, harsh and difficult the environment is at the moment, and that COVID has made it that much more difficult.
And in terms of her work as a journalist, Kate, I don't know, I was saying in my introduction there and in my own comments and reflections that a journalist with a better black book of sources and access you will not find. Karima could pick up the phone and call, a minister directly, and within minutes she will have an answer to the question that she would be wanting to communicate on television. I mean, I'm looking at some of the clips that we are playing as we are doing this, reflection. I remember that's one of the occasions we were in Pretoria, I think outside the Union buildings in the last year of former President Jacob Zuma's time in office, and there were all these protests, and she's looking at her phone because that was a key instrument for her, being able to reach sources. Just from what you can remember of her journalism and your own reflections of Karima, of the Karima that you knew.
Yes, absolutely. I can't agree with you more. She did have this incredible network of contacts, and I think that is one of the powerful things that you need as a journalist, is to be able to pick up the phone, to the most powerful people and to get them to answer quickly. And you're absolutely correct. That was definitely, something that she had built up over a long period of time. I mean, I think also it was interesting because she was very concerned about, citizens as well. So it wasn't only the powerful that she managed to kind of get interviews with, but she was very committed to, NGOs, people that were community, in the community, and therefore not as powerful, but were also equally incredibly important. And she certainly had a lot of contacts there too.
Just lastly, Kate, your own reflections on another aspect of her journalism. She had strong views about political developments in this country, about the state of our democracy, the institutions, and the people at the forefront of our democratic institutions, and wasn't shy to express those strong views and call out behavior that's against the values that we hold so dear as a society. Just the space for that in our society, how important is that? Or, where do you land on this debate on journalists needing to, hold views and also juxtapose with a bland neutrality that fails to even point out when someone is telling a blatant lie, that is easy to prove that this person is lying, but you are committed to saying, I'm a journalist, I'm just, my job is to say X says this, and it ends there without, actually saying that this person is not telling the truth?
Well, it's a very good question, and I think it depends on the context in which you're being a journalist. So where you've got to put your opinions across, and it's quite clear that it's your opinion. It is powerful for people to put forward their views and to say it stridently and to say it, and not to be fearful and to speak truth to power. But obviously, you've also got to simultaneously make sure that you get all the views and that you reflect all of those, because people are needing that 360-degree view of stories. And so, yes, I do think that Karima was very brave and courageous in terms of, asking the hard questions. It's not to say that she wasn't controversial. I mean, a number of people didn't like her views and felt, at certain times that she was too close to the ruling party. There were those kinds of issues. But certainly you could never say that she was, somebody that didn't take on the fight, didn't take on the battle, and she was quite clear about the fact that, when it is an opinion piece and when you're supposed to be talking about your particular views, it's important to have strong views and definitely speak truth to power. Take on the powerful people and ask them the hard questions.
Yeah. All right, Kate Skinner, thank you so much for your reflections. Kate Skinner there talking to us. She is from Sanef, the South African National Editors Forum.